a lot of fans are talking about wanting to expunge themselves and the organization of one Nick Ritchie, a move that we'll all agree just didn't work out for Kyle Dubas. And the Leafs and Kyle Dubas certainly doing that, bringing back Ryan Dzingel and Ilya Lyubushkin from Arizona. Nick Ritchie going down to the desert along with the draft pick, which of course is contentious in this circumstance because everybody wants to get rid of their problems without having to, you know, pay for it. And in this circumstance, it looks like the Leafs may pay for it. Good morning.
Good morning, Norm. Yeah, I mean, let's just say this is not the Gilmore deal. This is not the Dave Andreychuk deal. This is not a deal of major consequence. This is a deal where, yes, the Leafs had to pay a draft pick, a conditional pick, either a 2023 third or a 2025 second. So we're talking years in the future. That's the option of Arizona, of which they want to take. So I was assuming that clause would come into effect at the 2023 draft based on who was there when the Leafs third round pick is. But they're paying that extra. They're paying that pick to clear the second year of Ritchie's contract. And make no mistake about it. It ended up being a bad deal. I was in favor of taking the chance. He's a player with size. We knew he was challenged in terms of his speed, but this team needed size and snarl, and there wasn't much snarl there, honestly. He threw a couple checks, but there wasn't much pushback, and he simply couldn't keep up with the pace. They tried him on the first line, the second line, the third line, ended up on the fourth line, then ended up in the press box, then ended up with the Marlies, and he wasn't happy with the Marlies, and he just simply was not happy with what happened in Toronto over a half season, and now he's going to get a chance to play probably first, second line minutes with the worst team or the second worst team in the league. And, I wish Nick Ritchie nothing but the best, but I'm looking at the deal. Ryan Dzingel is a journeyman forward. After they lost Adam Brooks on waivers, there'd been talk for a little while that they were looking for a little more veteran depth, just in case like somebody goes down. That this guy could step in a third or fourth line role. He can play wing. He can play center. He's been with Ottawa. He's been with Carolina. He's an experienced guy, but is he going to all of a sudden take Alex Kerfoot's spot on left wing on the second line? No, he's a fourth. He's an extra forward. And I think if they had been able to keep Adam Brooks, then I don't think that Dzingel would have been part of this deal. But now, since Brooks got claimed by Winnipeg, they needed somebody who could play up the middle in case of injury. Lyubushkin is someone that, I've watched a ton of Arizona games, and he's sort of somebody that sort of blends into the woodwork. He's not, he doesn't stand out. He's not bad. He's not great. He's a right-hand shot. He's 27 years old. He's above average skating wise. He hits, which he's 6'2", I think 205. So he's got size, good teammate, but he's not, don't lie to yourself. Don't let yourself be fooled. This is a guy who's not going to step into the top four. He's a right-handed bottom pairing depth guy. As I say, a replacement for Zach Bogosian. Now, Bogosian was, because he's a veteran and he was good on the penalty kill. He was a mainstay on that bottom pairing. I don't know if Lyubushkin is going to be, because they have these youngsters in Sandin and Liljegren that they need to play. And he might be in and out of the lineup. I do think, though, if they do make a trade, and let's just say this, they still need to make a trade for a top four defenseman. If they don't, I think they're shortchanging their chances.
Yeah, J.A. Scott. I think we need a stay-at-home defenseman, Sandin, and what does that say? Tima or not it? Okay. Hall. Get rid of everybody we don't want, everybody who's not contributing, and bring back great contributors. It's certainly not that easy. This is the Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario. OakRidgeFord.com. Hey, I have some 2022 Ford Mavericks that are up for grabs. They've made the journey across the Mexico-U.S. border and are just stationed in northern part of the United States for the last part of the journey, and that is into Canada and then to our dealership. If you're looking for a kind of like an Escape-esque type of vehicle, but with a truck bed and a 2-liter engine, all-wheel drive, just get at me. I mean, these things are elusive. Everybody wants to get their hands on one. People are putting in orders and expecting to wait 8 to 10 months, maybe even a year to get one. I have 2 on the way, and it's like, this is what you get. You just get the information from me on vehicles on a hockey podcast, because I know that I know that's what you want. Labushkin, what a great name. Is that a Russian gene company, or is that a defense contractor? Labushkin. What does that sound more like?
It's a Russian beer company. Come to the mountains of Labushkin beer.
Yeah, I love it. The key here is Nick Ritchie is gone, and it's, I guess, not peculiar. It just didn't work out. And what is good is that this is an aside to the bigger picture. The Leafs have demons to exercise that date back, most recently to the debacle against the Habs, and then going back to, series against the Blue Jackets, and then of course all of those escapades with the Bruins. So we have a lot on our minds. If this team stunk or was challenged to get into the playoffs, the Ritchie story would be a lot bigger than it was and than it currently is right now. They got rid of the dude. All the best to them. The guys coming back, we know they're not major players. A major player to be acquired by the Maple Leafs is a potential thing to come before the trade deadline, Mike. And I know a lot of people, and if obviously J.A. Scott wants to see a defensive-minded individual, most likely playing on defense, join this team to solidify what is going to be a very important component to this team being successful down the stretch, and of course into the playoffs. And Mike, we can connect this thought process to what happened last night. The Leafs losing 6-3 to a St. Louis Blues team that is really good. And you even said it before we went live. The Leafs defense certainly needs to improve, and that's not a knock against the team as a whole, but if it wants to take the next step, improvement is something that has to happen constantly.
Well, you saw the game earlier in the week against Pittsburgh. They beat Seattle, which, a good team should beat Seattle because they're an expansion team. And, Jack Campbell played really well against Pittsburgh on Thursday, which was probably his best start since December the 1st. 45 saves. But you can't depend on Jack Campbell to stand on his head. And in that game, they have been experimenting with different defense partners with Jake Muzzin. They started with Sandin playing on his offside again with Muzzin. They were on the ice for the Malkin goal and sort of out of position. So they went back to Liljegren, who has traditionally played well with Muzzin. But I think they gave him more ice time yesterday to see what he could do. And, he had a couple hiccups. And, I think that for this team to have a good chance of beating one of those top 2 teams in the Atlantic, either Florida or Tampa, they're going to need to solidify that second pairing to have somebody who complements Muzzin that can be a shutdown against a good line. And really, I don't think that, and I'm not saying that they can't be, because eventually I think Sandin and Liljegren will be top 4 defensemen, but it's not going to be by April. It's going to be, the next couple years. So,
and Mike, and sorry to interrupt you, but they become top 4 type of guys, having had experience in a playoff situation where the chips are down and they come through and make a big play. That sticks with them. That is part of the formation of a hockey player, to have those big moments. But if you keep bowing out in the first round with your tail between your legs, it's just we need to get to that level, and these guys need support so that they can develop into the types of defensemen we all think they can become. It's pretty simple.
They need support, but they also don't need to be exposed. And the problem is that at a young age, with limited NHL experience. I mean, they're finally getting significant and consistent ice time in the NHL this year after being with the Marlies for a number of years with Sandin and Liljegren. Yeah, so they're making their mistakes, and that's expected. But you can't afford young, inexperienced players to make mistakes in a playoff scenario. The one mistake kills you. Travis Dermott giving away the puck in Game 6 killed the Leafs. Sandin giving away the puck in one of those games killed the Leafs. They don't have the luxury of allowing these guys to make mistakes.
I love how it's on the tip of your every single moment from that series right there.
Well, I mean, it wasn't one thing, it was a cumulative effect. And the thing is like, Dermott giving up the puck in that overtime, was an absolute killer. So, I'm sure Kyle Dubas knows this, and I'm sure, he's more than willing to give up the assets that are needed to get that top 4 defenseman. But if the price tag gets to a point where it's too much, then he probably won't do it. And then in that instance, you're going to have to give one of these kids an opportunity to play 20 plus minutes a night in the crucible of the postseason. And we can only hope that they succeed. But
so let's just read this here. Artist formerly known as Jabroni Jabber Brody. If you trade Nylander, who replaces his 30 goals a year? Do people also forget he was the buff? All right. Okay.
Jesus Christ. I mean, first of all,
Nylander. Just hold on a sec, real quick. So, who cares if you lose 30 goals? Nick Robertson will score 30 goals. Would you? But hold on a sec.
Maybe.
No. But can you not find 30 goals like that? Like, I don't understand.
No, you can't find 30 goals.
No,
like that.
Come. So you're telling me you lose the 30 goals and you don't succeed, but if you lose the 30 goals and replace those 30 goals with a defensive help, this team can't succeed either. Like, come on now. Like,
well, no, okay. What I'm saying is, like, in this past off season is an example. They found Michael Bunting at an economical rate, and he's playing with Matthews and Marner, and he's going to score probably 25 goals. Okay, that's good. That's great, and that's fantastic. Nylander, when hopping on all 8 cylinders, to use the Ford Maverick example.
It's 4 cylinders,
4
man.
cylinders?
Come on,
Okay,
get with the EcoBoost, buddy.
Then
the power is there with a smaller engine. Mike, just while we're hold on a sec. But here's the thing, right? I mean, if Marner's traded, who replaces his 100 points? Like,
nobody.
So, but that's what I'm saying though, is you get rid of. I mean, you move something like the Leafs have offense in abundance, and I'm just
I disagree. Okay, I disagree with that slightly. They have the centers in Tavares and Matthews that can create offense. Nylander, up until I'd say about a month ago, was having the best year of his career, was playing consistently. Okay, then all of a sudden he turned into Mr. Willie, and he 9 games without a goal, minus 12. Last night he scores 2 goals. Okay. He, in the cumulative, he's going to score 30 goals. They can't have him disappear for weeks on end.
I'm not even talking about Nylander specifically. What I'm saying is the Leafs have the second most goals for in the league. If you lose 30 goals, but you gain on the blue line, and that's the essence of this discussion, is that the Leafs need a better group back there defensively, more responsibility, guys who can take the load, so that the younger guys who are developing aren't exposed. What's the harm in that? That's what I'm saying. So this idea that, you're going to lose Nylander's 30 and he was the best forward in last year's playoffs. Well, he wasn't the best forward in the playoffs prior, and the Leafs lost those ones too. What I'm saying is, though, you have to give up something to get something else. And you're going to lose you're going to lose a good player. You're going to lose their production. It's going to suck. But the idea here is that Kyle Dubas, either he's trying to save his own job, or he's, in a position where he's feeling good and needs to take this team to the next level. He's going to have to make these decisions,
right,
and we're going to have to confront them as a fan
right.
base, whether we like them or not. But the intent here is to to take something of power, even it out, and to
well,
build something that you're lacking.
You know that I'm a proponent of trading Nylander if it improves the defense, but replacing the 30 goals won't be easy. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I mean, yes, Nick Robertson could come up and if he's playing with Tavares, score 20 goals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then you still have to replace the 10. So, I mean, it's not impossible because you have talent up the middle, and those guys are playmakers, and they can generate offense for you. But right now it's more than just trading Nylander to open up the cap space. It's trading Nylander to, if that's what they do, if they fall short in the first round again, to get young assets in return that can help you, that are cheap, and to have to open up the cap space to add a defenseman. So, I mean, right now, my issue is they can get something before the deadline. They can get someone, whether it be Giordano or Ristolainen or Ben Sherratt, although I think Sherratt's going to go someplace else. There are 3 or 4 legitimate top 4 defensemen out there that the Leafs can acquire. Probably have to give up a first-round pick, which I'm sure they're not anxious to do, but they probably, they could do that. And that would improve their chances. Now, will it guarantee that they're going to beat Florida or Tampa? No, it's not. There's no guarantees. Yeah. But it's clear to in my estimation that they can't beat those teams unless they're better 1 through 6 on the blue line. And we know this also. This team plays really well defensively during the regular season. It's a different game. When April 29th, which is the last game of the regular season, when that rolls by, it's a completely different season. These defensemen, they have time to make plays and go behind the net. And the playoffs, they're on you constantly, and they will not have time. They will make mistakes. They always do. And, they'll need the goaltending to save them at that point, but they need defensemen who can make less mistakes. And those are guys who can play top 4 minutes and that are experienced.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we repeat ourselves all the time. This isn't about William Nylander, the individual. Okay, the guy, he's a certain player, but the fans brag about this player because his payment is commensurate with his production. And don't you think that is an attractive tool for Kyle Dubas to have if he needs to make big changes to one aspect of this team that is lacking and that certainly needs it? Don't you think that makes him attractive to other teams? So again, he's a victim of his own contract. We brag about it, but we're not the only ones who think it's great. And artist Jabroni, whatever, he made a point that you trade him in the offseason if the Leafs shit the bed, and that's exactly it. Like, no one wants to move out William Nylander or anybody of substance right now to bring back another player who will be helpful, but you've lost in this circumstance. I'm saying in a whole, like, the Leafs have a ton of offense. That's not where they're lacking. Now the question is, Mike, do you think that the Leafs are, I mean, with a first round pick dangled, that's going to suck to give up a potential superstar and a pick. But again, we're here now, and this team has to make some strides. The likelihood of the player coming in to the fold will be a player here for a good time, not a long time.
I mean, I'd like to say it's likely. It's all a question of what the market will bear. It's all a question of like how much it'll cost. I mean, there's talk about Sherratt costing a first round pick and a prospect. And I don't think that that's a price that the Leafs are willing to pay for Sherratt. Now, they might be willing to pay it for Ristolainen. They might be willing to pay for Klingberg or somebody with term like a David Savard if he's healthy, or Scott Mayfield or whoever. I mean, I'm just saying, it all depends on what the market bears. Do I think that they're looking for a top four defenseman? Yes. Do I think that the reason that they're testing out to see whether Sandin and Liljegren can play top four is because they want to make absolute sure that they don't have the answer internally before they go externally? Yes. But do I think that those guys right now in the next month are going to be able to play and give Sheldon Keefe enough confidence that they I can go with Timothy Liljegren 20 minutes a night in a playoff scenario? I don't think I think he's good. I think he's really made steps. I like him. I'm not for including either Sandin or Liljegren in trades. I think that they're looking to them as future cornerstones on this blue line. But are they good enough right now? No.
Yeah, I think that's a question for community. YouTube.com/the Leafs Convo. Are you comfortable with this team going forward if it doesn't make a deal for a defenseman? This is the Leafs Convo for Oak Ridge Ford, Norm, along with Mike. I don't know if you can see that. I really don't know how to put up pictures. It's that doesn't look very good. And look, there's the ring light there. That's Don Edwards. So in community, I asked the question with that picture accompanying it. Who is this goaltender with Gretzky, lurking in the background? And I got Alan Bester, Tim Bernhardt, Darren Poo. I couldn't believe that nobody knew who that was. The funny thing is, I had to ask you. Donnie Edwards. Did Bob Sauvé play for the Leafs too, or was he just
no?
He was a Sabre through and through, eh?
He was Sabres, except for he was traded as part of the big Mike Foligno, Dale McCourt deal in '81, and then he ended up coming back to Buffalo. But I think he only played for Buffalo other than that little mini thing. And he may have played for somebody at the end of his career, like Colorado or something like that, or Quebec, but he was mostly Sabres.
OG's Converse, thanks so much for your contribution in the chat. We appreciate it. Make sure to like the post on YouTube, click the bell icon so you'll know what's coming up. We'll have a bunch of content leading up to the trade deadline and then beyond. Let's hope this is a terrific final season for the convo that lasts throughout the playoffs, and a deep journey towards the Stanley Cup. And who knows, the Leafs may go on and do it. They may surprise us. They may take that leap that a lot of us are skeptical they can take at this point, and just shove it in our faces and win a bloody Stanley Cup. And wouldn't that be an absolutely wonderful thing? For many reasons, other than the fact that this is going to be the swan song for the Leafs Convo. As it sits right now, Mike and I really do appreciate you hanging in for the ride, and it's going to be a good one down the stretch. Jesus, Murphy, the Montreal Canadiens with 9 bloody wins. No wonder why they're asking for so much for decent players. They're thinking, man, we need to accrue as many elements as we possibly can to dig ourselves out of this bloody hole. Wow. 9 wins. Come on, man. But it looks good on them. They won the cup last year when they beat the Leafs, right? So.
Well, yeah, there you go. Well, it was funny because Jeff Merrick reported yesterday that Marie-Philippe Poulin, the gold medal winner for Team Canada, that the Habs had approached her as being part of their management team, part of the group that they're. And I says, of course she's not going to take that job. She's a winner, and the Habs aren't.
Yeah,
but she wants to play still. They're a rebuild. They're in a rebuild situation. It's going to take them 3 or 4 years. They're going to dump a bunch of players. Carey Price probably will not be on their team next year. Maybe they trade Brendan Gallagher. But the fact that they're as bad as they are just makes the loss last year sting even more for a lot of Leaf fans.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the getting to the Stanley Cup Finals the way they did, I checked out mentally after the Leafs loss. I was just so pissed off with the way it happened. But from Montreal's perspective, man, that must have been, the fans' perspective there, that must have been such a ride. They were so close.
Well,
And
they'll be dining out on that for years.
what's that?
They'll be dining out on that for years.
Would we not be dining out on that?
No, I don't think so, because if the Leafs had beaten the Habs last year, it would have been what was expected, because the Habs were the worst team in the playoffs. They were ranked 16th, and the Leafs were what, third or fourth? It shouldn't have happened. We know the reasons why it happened. We're not going to legislate that over again, but it's just, I mean, the fact that the Habs are an absolute joke along the lines of the Coyotes and the Sabres this year just makes what happened last May even worse.
1967. 1967. Don't forget the year. Who can? So, Mike, if someone comes up to you at Scotiabank Arena, they get your autograph, they bow, they worship, they cry, they take pictures, they do live streams, and then they ask you, who do you think the Leafs pick up before the trade deadline to make the team better and put the team in a situation to be successful going forward? Who is that player?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, if it was me and you're talking about all things being equal in terms of the price, I know that I talked to somebody yesterday, and as soon as I said this name, they sort of shrieked in horror, because he's not an analytics. He is hated by the analytics crowd, and that's Ristolainen. I think Ristolainen would be a perfect fit on the right side with Muzzin. He's big, he's mobile, he's tough. He's not particularly bad offensively. He's actually decent offensively. He's not a complete shutdown guy, but I don't think there's a perfect guy out there that the Leafs can trade for that will answer all their questions. But in terms of, eating ice time and physicality and being a righty, I think he checks off the most boxes. But I don't know whether, we don't know whether Philadelphia is going to trade him. And we don't know if they are going to trade him, what the price would be. But if he, and I don't know if the Leafs can be able to afford his salary unless they wash it through a third team, and that will cost additional draft picks or prospects too. So, it's a tough proposition, but I do think that Kyle Dubas has to do it.
So, yeah, you think he has to ask himself internally, and he'll run it past his staff. Is it worth jumping through these hoops and over these hurdles to make something like this happen at this point? And man, oh man, Corey Parrish seems to think that the Leafs will get a bit of a mental break going into a series against Tampa or Florida as the underdog, and they could just go and relax and play their game.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Corey's the epitome of a true OG and convert. He's going to be with us all the way to the very last show. But I'll tell you right now, that the idea of just going in and relaxing and playing your game and not having pressure makes no sense whatsoever. This team will be under severe pressure to the minute that they either win it or lose it.
I mean, Corey, I just have to say this. Do you remember the beginning of the season? They lost 4 games in a row, and people were ready. Trade Mitch Marner, fire Sheldon Keefe, Dubas has got to go. What the hell is wrong with this team? It was 4 games at the beginning of the regular season. It wasn't the playoffs. They lose 2 games in a row to Calgary and Vancouver, and people are saying, like, what's the deal here? And I'm like, there's a lot of pressure on this team. They will try all their utmost to alleviate and keep that pressure off of them. But it's there. It's not going anywhere until they win at least a round. That pressure, even though Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner were not here in 2004 or 2013 when they lost to Boston, the cumulative pressure of them losing in the postseason will continue to hang over this team no matter what they say or do until they win.
The whole point of building your team to be better is to get through the regular season in as good a position as you possibly can, then catapult through a round 2, 3, and then on the way to the finals. That is the thing, Mike. And I I'm really hoping that the team positions itself well, not only statistically at, by the time game 82 rolls around, but mentally, right? And then you can do that by bringing in the reinforcements, players who fit not so much the structure, but fit the idea, fit the philosophy. What are we trying to accomplish here? Um, and then just take on who you take on with the expectation you're going to win, not because you're exercising demons, that'll just happen, but because you're meant to win. You have the ability to win, and this is if this is your time, right? So that's what I'm hoping happens. And again, it's sort of motivational, inspirational kind of talk, and it's easier said than done. But that's what I'm really hoping, as opposed to the team, I don't know, sort of crawls into the playoffs even in a decent spot, and then turns into a whole David versus Goliath kind of thing, when it really shouldn't become that, because this team is a Goliath, and the disappointment and the frustration grows and grows, and this becomes a behemoth as the years go by, and this team hasn't done anything of substance in the playoffs because, man, like I said, history weighs heavy on all of us. It's just not going to go away until the team starts making strides. And why not this season? Last word to you, Mike.
Well, it's going to be curious to see how soon the two new additions get in the lineup. I even think it's possible, based on what happened this week in terms of Adam Brooks being placed on waivers after they claimed him, that you could see Dzingel placed on waivers. It might have been even a move to open up cap space and hope that somebody either claims him or hope you can get him down to the Marlies, and then you have a month of building up deadline cap space. So I don't put anything past the organization right now, and it'll be interesting to see what they do. And we have, a busy schedule this week with Montreal on Monday, at Columbus, at Montreal on Monday, at Columbus on Tuesday, and believe it's Minnesota on Thursday. So busy times for the Leafs.
Yeah, that's right. And then they'll wrap up the week with a game in Detroit, and those games are always fun because you do have a nice variation of fans, Leaf fans, Wings fans, and hopefully the Leafs can wrap up the week with success on the score sheet, and just a feeling of accomplishment in their hearts, as we push forward. Mike, it's been a blast. I appreciate it very much. OG's Conference, thanks for being here in the chat. I like how the numbers are ticking up. More people want to be a part of it. We're doing the 10 o'clock start time now, to allow Mike's hangover to wear off a little bit, so that, he can be at peak when he when he's doing the show. Yeah, Mike, thanks for all you do. You do a great job covering the Maple Leafs, and of course, I'm glad that you're able to get back out to Scotiabank Arena, be there on site to cover this team that causes you so much stress, but still, burns is so passionately in your heart, because I think this is a race. Either this team wins a Stanley Cup before you pass away, or you know it it doesn't, and really that's what it all comes down to for us old fogies, doesn't it?
Yeah, I couldn't say it better myself.
All right, for Mike, I'm Norm. Have a great week, guys. Talk to you soon.